same stories can be told by 10 different filmmakers, and all 10 different filmmakers' style of filmmaking is correct. So the written material has to be sacrosanct, but just be true to what you're trying to say, what you're trying to communicate. Because anything said from the heart will always connect to someone's heart. If you dilute your heart and if you don't listen to your heart, then same thing will happen with the audience. How you adapt and how you reinvent the wheel in a trying situation is what makes you stand out or not.
Hi Vibhu.
Hi.
We are in Mumbai.
Yes.
The year is 2024.
Yep. And today is Ganesh Chaturthi.
Ganesh Chaturthi. Can I request you to close your eyes for me?
Okay. Sure.
Go back to your childhood. The year of your choice.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us, when did you find the artist in you for the very first time? And you can open your eyes as
It's
you
very
answer.
clear in my head still, as in I was in 10th grade and we used to have this book called Gadde Garima, which is like a series of stories, and there was this very interesting story about, it was called Moolya. So I don't know what came into me. In Allahabad in the 90s, filmmaking is like not even a distant dream. It's impossible. I mean, you can't even be a sports person. You can only be engineer, doctor, lawyer, whatever, these kind of basic jobs. So I used to tell my friends that one day when I get an opportunity to make a film, I'm going to make a film on this. And it was a very poignant, women-oriented story wherein, so I don't know from where that thought came, and it was not even on the canvas that I will come to Bombay, I will be a filmmaker. So none of it was ever planned, and when reached the university level, then he started participating in a lot of intercollegiate, inter-university events, and also I used to write ads and stories and stuff like that. So one of my friends said, why don't you go to Bombay and try, because you write pretty well. So I said, okay, let me try. So आंखों में सपने लिए घर से हम चल तो दिए, फिर यहाँ आके जो पिछवाड़े पे लाते पड़ी. So then it was like the reality strikes you, and then you say, "Acha, this is not as hunky dory as it seems like." Because I wanted to get into advertising and be a copywriter. Then what happened? Then I was a salesman for 2 years. I worked with Standard Chartered Bank and Motorola India. But then the bug had already bitten me. I said I want to get into media. So it was got into an advertising agency for a year and started writing ads. I wrote an ad which ran for almost 13 years.
Which is?
Which is a Lux Scott Sulka ad with Satish Kaushik and Sardi Mein Bhi Garmi Ka Ehsaas. I wrote it in 1999. It ran up till 2013. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's how it is, and that's how this journey happened. And then I worked as an assistant on Main Hoon Na and Iqbal and Door.
Iconic films of the time, which have
Yeah, and
shaped.
I'm very proud of that. Yeah. So, and post that, I started directing myself, directed a lot of ads and music videos and documentaries and stuff. A lot of corporate films, because obviously you have to run the house also. They pay the bills. So
Reality of life.
Reality of life, yeah. So that's that, and then yeah, it's been an amazing journey. It's been a very long journey, but yeah, it's been amazing.
In this long journey, which started from Moolya, the story that you read,
Yeah.
and Vibhu, who you are today, what have you discovered about yourself as an artist?
As an artist, what I have discovered is like it's very difficult to,
Like, how did you see the world when you were reading Moolya, and how do you see the world today?
See, it's for me, it was a story that needed to be told because it was about a woman empowerment. I was in 10th grade in the 90s in Allahabad, wherein these kind of terms were not even, and I also didn't see it like that. It was just very organically, the story spoke to me. So I just said ki this is something that should be made, and it's still a very poignant story, but I don't know who will take it, because it's it's I mean, we will get into the story maybe some other time offline maybe, but so yeah, so this is so my voice is like, for me the triumph of human spirit is like in life and on screen is like my biggest draw, which I really get inspired by. Like Life is Beautiful is like my number one film of all time, Shawshank Redemption. So these kind of films, they tell you something about life. Like there's a line in Shawshank that says hope is a good thing. So it is a hope is a good thing, and I'm a diehard optimist. So I, no matter how bad a situation is, which is currently, it is pretty trying for everyone in the industry. So it just it is what it is. I mean, it's just like the reality is something you have to keep doing. You have to keep, nudging one step at a time, one day at a time, and keep moving forward.
In all this practicality of life, you said the stories spoke to you organically. I think that is something so important because
Yeah.
whether as a writer or as a director, I'm sure this is it which keeps you going and which gives you the direction and which makes you fight the fights that you do.
Yeah.
So for the uninitiated, how will you define, how will you explain this? Story spoke to you. What was that? Because it sounds very unexplainable to me.
No, because as a person, we all have a certain personality. We all have a certain core values that we all hold in. And everything, somebody might like Isaac Asimov's story because it's dystopian world, it's very futuristic and stuff. Somebody will like Alif Shafak. Somebody will like everything. People will react to books and stories the way their personalities are. So I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm a woman empowerment kind of a crusader, but I've not done anything like that. But it's just that I like telling stories about human emotions and human drama, and it's very uncanny that most of my stories are protagonist is a woman. When I used to write, now it has changed because everybody wants male skew stories. So so it's just how it is.
I think you're being humble when you say that you have not done anything to bring the stories out. And I will take the cue from what you said. Most of your stories have human emotion as the core.
Yeah,
It's because you've seen so much in life.
probably, yeah.
And that translates and that brings a part of you in the stories that you create, whether as a writer or as a creative director or as a director. How do you see yourself and your life reflecting in the work that you have done?
Actually, I think it's a very continuous process because you observe life around you, and as a filmmaker, you have to observe characters when you're sitting in a cafe. If there is a couple sitting, they are in love or they're bickering. What is the body language? What are their eye movements? How are they sitting? They're sitting at 90 degrees or sitting in front of each other. All these small nuances always helps you create a scene or a moment when you are doing it yourself. So life is the best teacher, actually, and you just keep observing. Obviously, you have to be up to date with what the technical new know-hows of the what is happening currently, and everything, the technology, how it's advancing and how it's helping filmmaking. You have to have like an overview of everything that is happening around you, and it's a continuous process. You learn till you die. It's like that. You can die with your boots on.
To somebody who's starting out, uh, life in general, and especially this, may seem a little overwhelming, saying you have to balance the way you observe things, the way you are aware, at the same time build on your skills, which seems obviously very natural and must to do. But is there any roadmap which one can follow? I would think everybody's journey is different.
Yeah, yeah.
But are there any milestones which people should keep in mind when they are starting out? Because you have seen it all. You have seen the corporate side of the world, you have seen the struggle, you have fought to bring the artistic voice out, and then seen another side of struggle, and then found your way with trial and error. So for someone who's trying to start out, what mindset should they go ahead with?
Learn. One has to have the mindset to learn because, like I said, I'm still learning. I mean, I've been around for a while, but I'm still learning, and it's a continuous process. And it's never about the instant gratification. It's never about making this one film or making this one thing coming out. It is always about, is this something that really resonates with you? Is this something that you want to say it out to the world. You have a very powerful medium at hand. You can change people's mindset. There are movies have brought about revolutions in societies. Like Do Biga Zameen was one such film wherein it was about the farmers' revolution, and there are so many films here. I mean, I mean, I'm because I'm put in a spot. I'm forgetting these names, but
That's it. What has touched you?
uh, like Indian film, like I think Sholay is like the birth of Christ for Indian cinema. It's like Indian industry before Sholay and after Sholay. It's like that. So it's a great lesson in screenplay writing. I mean, if you
Yeah.
want to really understand how to grab an audience and release an audience's emotion and then catch them back again, so it's a great experience. It's an experience. Or any of Salim Javed's films are an experience because they knew the nubs of the audience and they knew the pulse, what the audience will resonate with and what they want to see. Because like Angry Young Man came out of the angst society that it was there in the 70s.
Yeah, it was a
Otherwise-
reflection.
Exactly. The society always reflects the kind of movies that we make.
Does the audience know what they want? Perspective of a director.
No. You take them on a journey. If you take them in a really interesting way, they will take the ride. I mean, Street 2 is the biggest example right now. Because they took them on a journey, and which is a journey which was completely unexplored, and it was into some other realm and other world, and there are these merging of characters and movies, and it's they created a multiverse out of it in a like a horror comedy zone.
Yeah, I think you did that with Asur. You were the creative director of Asur and you brought mythology and science fiction together, which was maybe never tried to that extent. So you took the audience to a new journey, which maybe people would not have put together themselves. Talk to us about that.
So mythology and forensic science. So because it is again, it's not been told before. So anything that has a certain element of excitement and there's certain element of uniqueness about it is what resonates with me. I don't want to put a series of events put together which is just plainly entertaining but doesn't make any sense. It has to have a certain plot, it has to have certain things to, make the audience think. Because if you just take them on a ride, they might or might not, but you have to make them think. Okay, this could be that. I don't know who the killer is. Or till the last episode, you don't know what the killer is. But season 2, oh, he's not, or maybe someone else is. So they like to use their brains. I mean, we think that audience is not that intelligent, but they're extremely intelligent, and they all operate out of their subconscious. It's like there are certain rules of filmmaking, that there's a line of access, there is all this, because these are rules because audience reacts from a subconscious. If you break if a character is on the left of the screen and suddenly it becomes on the right hand screen, the subconscious will get detached because
Yeah.
they will not know ki what happened.
It won't make sense.
Technically they will not know, but they know कि अरे ये क्या हुआ, अभी तो इधर था इधर कैसे आया. So they will snap out of the story. So that's why this is important, the continuity of thought and emotions. There are certain rules of filmmaking. Break it if the story needs it. Don't break it at your whim, is what my point is.
No, it's brilliant because the narrative that's going around, which might be a pseudo narrative, is to break rules. And that is what makes you question the norm or makes you look cool. But the rules exist for a reason. Yes, exceptions are important when it is called for, but rules exist for a reason. And you just explained beautifully how the technicality of filmmaking actually is derived from something as so soft as subconscious.
Yeah. It's people operate when they go to a movie theater. It is this concept called willing suspension of disbelief. They are willing to go with you on a journey till their beliefs are not questioned. Once you, अगर उनको, if they feel that कि अरे ये तो नहीं हो सकता, then you have lost them as an audience.
Isn't it amazing level of trust, blind trust that audience
It's a
give?
captive audience because they spend money to come and see your film. I mean, it's your responsibility as a filmmaker to, not break their trust. There are very few people who try and do that, but it's like it is a filmmaker's responsibility.
How should one filmmaker deliver to this responsibility? Are there any do's and don'ts?
No, there are no do's and don'ts. There are same stories can be told by 10 different filmmakers, and all 10 different filmmakers' style of filmmaking is correct. It is just that you have to be true to the story that you're telling. You just don't use gimmicks, don't use, some surround sound and flashy camera movements. If it's required, please go ahead and do it. I mean, there are a lot of movies, they only survive on flashy camera movements, like action films and all. You need that. But be true to the story. Even if you're using fact, don't use the essence, the spine, what you're trying to communicate in terms of a story or a narrative.
Technically, how to be true to a story? Like, how would you uh, approach a scene or a shot or a character? Anything that stands out to you?
See, everybody's process would be different, how they
Your
perceive a
process.
story. And so when you are on set and when you're trying to actualize what is written on a piece of paper, it's extremely tedious because you are the last line of defense as a filmmaker, as a director. Whatever you've done, whatever is being printed is going to go on screen, and that's that. So you have to be so aware of so many things. There are so many small elements that you have to understand character's arc, what has happened before and after, how is his larger arc, what is the right emotion whether the actors is doing in this particular scene, whether it's in sync with the overall arc of everything, the art, the costume, everything is in sync. There is nothing coming out. I mean, there is no sound happening, the sync sound. It's just like too many things, and still you have to make sense of that story. So it's extremely difficult. So the written material has to be sacrosanct, as in ki whatever you have written and whatever is there on piece of paper, do a thorough check before you get onto the shoot. Then you don't have to worry about the script on set, because the moment you start worrying on the set about the script, then the narrative gets affected eventually. Then you sit on the edit, you said, what happened? This is not what we intend to go out and make. So just writing is like the Bible, which you have
Pre has
very
to be really,
sacrosanct.
really strong.
Yeah.
Balancing the 100 things that you have to do as a director on set while ensuring that you bring out the final emotion on screen, which will evoke emotion in the audience. How do you balance that? Is it conscious process, subconscious? Is there something happens that you can't explain when you're on set?
It's 90% of preparation and 10% magic is how I believe it. Because you have to, me as a filmmaker, you have to leave the 10-15% of chance of magic happening on set. Because if it's unexplainable. I mean, I don't know how and where, like a sport boy or an AD will come and suggest an idea, okay, we can do this, this is not working, and you do that and it just takes it to another level.
Any example from any of your sets?
Yeah, so I was shooting in Seattle for a film that I shot in before COVID, and it released after COVID. So there was this. We were shooting a climax scene, and we were shooting it. And while shooting it, you don't feel it. I mean, I didn't feel it. So I said, "Ki, this is not working." So we said, let's take an 1 hour break, and we were shooting in Microsoft office in Seattle, and it was a Thanksgiving weekend kind of space, so there was no one in the office, and it's so easy to shoot there. We just walked in and we were just like set up. So we were sitting in the cafeteria and we said, "He'll give us an hour." So we wrote a scene which was on the spot within an hour, and that changed the whole complexion of the entire story. So there is a physical, there's a subconscious, there's a metaphysical layer that you have to be aware of while you're creating something. Is what I feel is what makes what it is. I mean, obviously you have to be aware what you're set out to make as a filmmaker, and what are the actors are supposed to do, and they should just do that. And so then everything else makes sense in totality.
You're talking about
All the small pieces will make a big jigsaw puzzle, which will make sense. But because, and its director is one of the puzzle, one of the just pieces. It's like there are so many different pieces that
do you
come
relate
together
with
to make a film.
do you relate with when people say director is the captain of the ship?
Has to be. He's the last line of defense, because whatever he prints is goes on screen, and he will be judged for that.
And this different pieces coming together, what you're actually saying is accountability at individual level, which brings out a collective
Absolutely. If
output.
you're not doing your work, if it's the ownership is not there, ki if I don't do it, it will not happen. That is the kind of worker you need in your team. I mean, Steven Spielberg has said, after finishing the script, I do the most difficult part of my filmmaking process is to make my team. Making a team is the most essential part. Having a good team is the most essential part of making a good film, because the energies on set always translates on screen.
It's interesting because this is a pattern which is emerging out of our conversations. And I want to again emphasize on that. You're saying the energy, good or bad,
Yeah,
can be quantified as the output of your film.
totally.
Tell us about that.
No, because if you're not having fun while making a film, open a general store. It's as simple as that, because this is something that you're out to create, and you're out to, you know, it's a creative process. If you're
Yeah.
not having fun in creating something, open a general store. It's better that at least you'll be doing hisab every day, and you'll be, even if you're angry or anxious, nobody cares. You just have to sell stuff.
I think the brilliance of someone like you is how you make things sound so simple, because just a couple of minutes ago you described the 500 things that somebody has to do on set and then have fun. How do you balance the immense pressure and 1,000 item checklist with having fun?
I've lost it so many times on set. I've like literally, I'm a tyrant on set if I have to. If I can't, matlab nincompoopness I can't handle on set, because if you're given a certain job, you do your bit, because
That's
everybody.
professional, not tyrant.
But why na ki when it doesn't happen and people start giving excuses for that, so that becomes, I just can't handle that. And I have a thing ki even if you're less talented but you're a good human being, I will hire you. Talent can be taught, but being a good human being cannot.
I'm an HR by profession, and in HR we are taught hire for attitude, train for skills. So
Yes,
there you go.
exactly.
But your pursuit of excellence can be misunderstood as you being the tyrant.
It has been so many times. I mean, I've heard that ki you're so angry. You. I said, but theek hai yaar, I need to get my job done. I mean, if you have a series to shoot in a limited budget in a limited number of days, if I don't shoot it, the owners will come on and ki you didn't do you didn't do a good job. So I have to finish it, and I have to prove a point that I know what I am doing. But it always, most of the time, it backfires, because people will judge you on the anger bit. People will not see that you have worked your backside off to make something happen against all odds. So yeah,
The outcome counts eventually, even
that's
if
the
you
only
are.
thing that counts. That's the only thing that counts. It's a very, what you see is what you get kind of industry, and you're as good as what you've done last.
And okay, so we don't live in an ideal world. So I'm sure if you have a team of 200, 300 people on an average, while you may want to have everybody who is as committed, as professional, as disciplined the way you would expect them to be, but they might not be. And you may realize that later for whatever reason.
Yeah.
How do you handle that situation? Because that's, I'm sure, something which everybody faces day in and day out.
Have a conversation with them. Why this is something that you have to pull your socks about, because this is not happening, and it's gonna, and nobody's above and beyond the project. Even the director, actor, producer, the project has to be supreme. If anything is becoming a spanner in the works for that has to be addressed or replaced. As simple as that. If you can address it, if you can pull up your socks, great. If not, then so many times it has happened that people have been replaced mid-project and stuff like that.
So, what I'm hearing from you is self awareness, accountability, discipline, and presence of mind to take decisions on time.
Yeah, I mean, presence of mind, not everybody needs to do that, because costumes and art and all, it's all prepared before, and you just have to execute it. So, execute, you do your job with complete ownership. And rest, if everybody does their job, the pieces, if they do their job correctly, it will make a beautiful.
Do you think it's difficult for people to see that they are a part of a bigger picture? Do you think we are becoming more individualistic?
They're very myopic in their vision, and I will do my job. That's not my job. This has happened. This is happening a lot these days.
How can one change that around them? I mean, what can we do about it?
I mean, it is all about the awareness. I mean, if you want to be a sensitive filmmaker, and if you want to be a certain way that you need to tell your stories, these are basic requisite of being a good human being.
Like, don't kid yourselves if you don't
you're not,
understand this.
yeah.
Don't say that you are a filmmaker
No,
or
and
you have
see,
become.
the thing is, I mean, with all due respect, there are some extremely talented new people also, but there's a sense of entitlement with a lot of people in today's times. Ki, okay, I'm this, I'm that, and I will only do this. It doesn't work like that. I mean, when we were 80s, we were mopping the floors, cleaning actors' shoes, and running around throwing bubbles, balloons in songs, making heroines' hair fly. So we did all of it and do the making and still clap. I mean, it's like we were, and we loved it because it was like a all encompassing teaching that we were getting out of
Right.
that. But today's time, there are like 7, 10, 80s, and everybody has specified a job, and they will only do that. They will not step into anybody else's shoes, which is okay. Maybe professionally it might work, but how are you learning? How are you learning the different ropes, the different traits of what goes? It's not just you handling costume or you handling art. It is about you have to learn everything. And I think the DA and the continuity person learns the most because they're always next to the director and in front of the monitor. So they are the ones who actually learn the most from the director, understand writing, what camera, what lens, what is the movement. Is it a track movement? Is it a zoom or whatever it is? It's a graphic shot with chroma. So what needs to be done with what frames rate is shot? So these are all very small, small things, but and it has to become a habit of you to understand this at that subconscious level. So when you learn, you'll say, what the hell is this? I mean, I don't understand. But you will eventually. But you have to be at it consistently and continuously.
Like, more than asking the question, why should I even invest my time, energy, effort into this? Just go with the flow and trust the process that if you learn, it is going to bring you some good.
Yeah, and asking questions also helps. I'm of the opinion questions are never wrong. Answers can be.
Nice.
Yeah.
As someone who has seen, like you said, the iconic sets of the films which have changed and shaped mindset of generations. Like, I have grown up watching Door and Main Hoon Na and Iqbal. To what is happening today and the work that you have done after that. What is the difference in filmmaking technically and behaviorally that you see?
So technically, there's a lot of advancement because we used to shoot on celluloid, like the film, like a 35 film, and the discipline that you have when you're shooting on film, it's unparalleled because you only get like a 10 frame or a 15 frame to give you a clap, and you have to, it's a sync sound, so the entire environment has to be silent and everything. So the awareness of the set and the discipline of a set, you learn it on celluloid. With digital coming, it's become a little more easy, and things have become easy, the graphics, the DI and everything. You can correct a lot of things in post. So somewhere I think the discipline is, I'm not saying discipline is not there, but it's kind of had adjusted to the time. It's not say good or bad. It is just adjusted to the times. And yeah, it's just sorry, what was the question again?
How has the filmmaking changed technically and behaviorally from then to now?
And it is no, but it was always India as a industry has always been like a very actor centric kind of industry. So it is, I mean, it's become a lot more because a lot of corporates and stuff have come in. So it's more like about the project as to give what the project entails and what are the ROIs, and it's become like a business. So creativity has suffered a little bit, but still there are some very interesting films that are coming. Still people are trying to invest and tell interesting and different stories.
Corporate versus creative. You have worked in corporates, you have worked as full-time creative and artist as well. What is that mindset shift that you see? And I'm asking this question why? Because there are so many people who have a 9 to 5 or a salaried job, but voice of artist imagines that they do have an artistic side in them which is not coming out. But still, the way you function as a professional is very different. So, what is the main shift that you see from corporate to being an artist?
See, there are metaphysical and physical aspect to it. There is I'm of the belief that in the battle of survival and creativity, survival always wins. So that depends on what stage of life that you are in life. So you have to take that call. But if your survival is not at stake, take the plunge. Listen to your heart, do what you feel like doing, writing, creating, photography, whatever you need to do, take the plunge and see how it goes. Because till you don't, like I always give this example of bungee jumping, you have to take the plunge and trust the rope. If it snaps, then this is your last day. If it doesn't, then you'll bounce back again.
What is artistic pursuit to you with this context?
Artistic pursuit is just like, for me, is just telling stories, which is I don't know how. I mean, it's too vast a thing to encompass.
Like take a plunge with
Whatever your heart says. I mean, if you're a software engineer and you want to write, you mean I know a software engineer who, I mean, there's who writes so well now. He's like a very celebrated software engineer, but he left everything and he's a writer now. The writers who wrote Asur, one was a civil engineer, one was a physiotherapist, and one was a doctor. These are the three people who wrote Asur.
wow.
Season 1. Season 2 was obviously Gaurav has written it. So it is not what you're doing in life in terms of practicality. It's what you want to do from your heart.
Dead Poet Society, where
Yeah.
we need civil and engineering and medical to survive, but we are alive for
the arts.
arts
Yeah.
and the poems.
Yeah.
So it's the survival versus existence that we are basically talking about.
Survival and creativity.
Tell us about any challenging situation that you had to overcome.
Okay. As an AD, though, every day was a challenge. But as a director, yes, when you especially shooting outdoors and in trying situations and in places like Banaras and also, it just, the crowd is not that, they don't listen to you. And we had to shoot a scene on the ghats, and I was supposed to start shooting like after lunch, like 3:30, 4 o'clock, because the light goes around 5:45. The light goes from the ghats because it goes behind the buildings. So we started. Some delay happened during the day. Some things happened. So finally, we reached the ghats at 5 o'clock.
Oh,
So it was a good 4-page scene, and I had like 45 minutes to an hour max to shoot that film. And as luck would have it, we had Nargis Fakri there and in a sari. So there's like 5,000 people were surrounding us in the ghats. And so it just became a nightmare to control the crowd, manage the light, dialogues, emotions. But we did it eventually. So it's
in 45 minutes.
in 45 minutes, max an hour. We tried doing the close-ups later so that we can light it.
How?
But that's when an expertise of a director, so that you plan your shots better, you shoot it smartly. So many a times this has happened when I was shooting my show, that it was just like I was supposed to shoot that scene in 4 hours and outdoor big setup, lights and everything, and then I get like an hour and a half to shoot, and that too at night.
Hmm.
So it's just, but that's when you know that you belong here, because you can firefight and you can still bring out the best in the given situation.
How do you firefight?
By adjusting your vision when you have a certain vision to do certain things, and okay, just control the expanse of your vision and just do the what is necessary at that point of time, because you have to print that scene, you have to print that thing, because you will not get, it's not that one of those heavy budgets ki theek hai bhai kal aa jayenge wapas fir kar lenge. It doesn't work like that. So you have to just control your vision and do what's necessary and still make sense out of it and still make it interesting.
So while be planned to the best possible level, be flexible enough to change it at the last moment.
Yeah, for that also, I mean, for those things, experience also counts. Experience helps, because then you have seen certain situations and circumstances wherein things will not always go your way in terms of in direction, in terms of outdoor shoots and all that. So how you adapt and adjust is what your true metal is as a filmmaker.
That makes me think a lot of people may see failure as a negative thing that happens in their life, but what you're saying is you learn from your failures and how to get up and show up the next day after feeling rejected or
No, but those are two different things we're talking. You make the best out of the uh, unforeseen circumstances. Failure is something that you're not able to can that scene. Then though it's just like a force of nature. You can't do anything about it. It's just like you failed and let's see what best we can do, or don't shoot that scene. But I mean, obviously failure does teach you much more than success. I mean, failure is an orphan and success has many fathers. So definitely yes. But the point is that how you adapt and how you reinvent the wheel in a trying situation is what makes you stand out or not.
You you make it sound so easy. And, there are these quotes which have become such over abused statements like change is the only constant in life. But put a person or a collective through the change and see what the true colors come out. So, how do you become comfortable with change and this fluidity of.
You don't have an option. When you don't have an option, it's either flight or fight.
This conversation is such a wake up call. I'm hoping it should be a wake up call to a lot of people, because what you're saying is face it.
Yeah, face it and show up every day. Showing up every day is important, and when you show up every day, everything else one by day by day, you will follow, you will learn, you will adapt, and you will move ahead. I mean, it's a choices in your hands. That's actually whoever is listening and whoever is watching.
Any message you want to give to the viewers?
Show up every day consistently and be persistent in what you want to do. Don't give up. The night is the darkest just before the dawn.
Finding the courage to go through that is what it takes.
Yeah, because we always give up at the last moment and we say, okay, I mean, we should not. I mean, it's also, I mean, it's individual based. I mean, people will, in different situations, different mindsets will deal with it differently. But the point is to just hang in there.
You have talked about the importance of upgrading your skills. You have talked about knowing yourself and finding your professional or work ethic. But metaphysical element keeps coming in your conversation. I want to just deep dive into that.
It's metaphysical. It can't be tangibilized. It's just very metaphysical.
What's his presence in your life for the uninitiated? What is metaphysical element?
Like you're reading something and suddenly it sparks another story idea in your head, and it becomes I mean, it has happened many a times in my life that I'm reading something, and when I was working with a channel that there was this article that I read and I sent it to my boss. She actioned it next day because the story was so good. And what happened to it, it's a different story altogether. But it's just like I think I have a knack of understanding what kind of story might work and might not work. I mean, I would like to take pride in it. I don't know. I mean,
you should.
I don't have much to show about it, but it's just like I would like to believe that I have. And yeah, I mean, I'm aware. My awareness about whether the story is in this certain form, how it will look, because as a director, you have to see the written word and visualize it, how it's going to be on screen. So yeah.
The way you put it also was 90% hard work and 10% space.
Magic.
For magic. With the insane speed at which this world is functioning right now, and this illusion of control that is getting ingrained in a lot of people, how to leave the space for magic?
By being aware about yourself and by being how do I put it? By letting it happen, because if you can't control, I mean, you can't control your breathing, you can't control your life, you can't control there's so many elements in your life. You can't control a growing tree, seas, ocean, air. You call it like divine intervention, you call it magic. So there are so many elements that sometimes you just have to let be. Just let it be. If it's meant to be, magic will happen. It doesn't happen all the time. There's a certain way, and you have to have the awareness and no ego for that. Because sometimes you feel कि अरे नहीं मैंने ऐसे design किया, I'll just do it like this, and there's no other way is deviating. I mean, films like Jaane Bhi Do Yaro and Andaz Apna Apna, there's so much of magic happens in those films, because it will not excite you even today if there was no magic in those films. Like that Mahabharat scene in Jaane Bhi To Yaro was initially 1 hour long. It's been cut to whatever it is right now. And I don't think so that you can write that scene.
Yeah.
It has to happen organically between these amazing, phenomenal actors. It is what it is. And so that's what I meant by magic. There has to be that magic. You have to leave space for magic.
Magic versus research. I'm just trying to find extreme
Research के बाद magic आता है. Do your research well, magic will happen.
Tell us more about that.
No, you have to be because research is very tangible.
Yeah.
You're talking about tangible and intangible.
Right.
So intangible can happen during research also. The magic can happen during research also. You chance upon something which is like takes your story to another level. But it can happen at every step of the way. But you have to have that mindset and open-heartedness and to let the magic happen in your life.
You're breaking such a strong myth right now because you are. Because a lot of people say being a creative means just being lost in their world and not really.
No, it's a balance of both. It's a balance of both.
Tangible takes you to the intangible. Yeah.
If your tangible is absolutely clean, then you will. It's like it's watertight. Then they will. When the magic happens, it just elevates it to another level. Even if the magic doesn't happen, if you have good research and you don't believe in magic, it's fine. But you still have to have that watertight research and script together so that you can execute it on set and not double think yourself, double guess yourself on set.
This is a good segue for me to get into independent filmmaking and mainstream or commercial, where you are tight on budgets, you're tight on resources, but sapne bahut bade hain. I'm taking this from research perspective of when you are limited in resources, how do you go about it? How do you bring the best foot forward?
See, I believe that they're the same cameras, they're the same lights, they're the same people, they're the same everything. Either you know how to tell a story or you don't. Medium, independent film, big film, doesn't matter. If you know how to tell a story, you will tell a story in 2 minutes. If you don't know how to tell a story, you won't be able to do it in 2 hours.
But 1 lakh versus 10 crore.
So it's as simple as that. He or she knows how to make a film in 1 lakh. Then they will be able to make a film in 10 crores also. But we have seen umpteen number of filmmakers who were like these amazing indie filmmakers. The moment they got budgets and things, something got lost. I mean, I don't know what. There are so many examples in front of us. So it's just like I said, be true to what you're trying to tell a story. When you're making a film in 1 lakh, you will have to shoot like 20 minutes, 15 minutes a day. When you're making a film in 10 crores, you will shoot 30 seconds a day. You will have larger sets, bigger lights, better equipment. That's the only difference. But your narrative and your storytelling still remains the same. Whether it's audience is getting hooked onto it or not is eventually the biggest litmus test, irrespective of what budgets, what duration, what expanse that you're making your story in.
Interesting. So you're saying the constraint can actually become a boost to your creativity if you have lesser budget.
It's the best training ground for you when you're working against a constraint.
Do you encourage filmmakers to start with short films and then...
See, short films is always a great showcase for any filmmakers who wants to become a director. So it's a great showcase because then they will get to know whether your storytelling skills, your writing skills or whatever it is. It's just like it's a great proof of concept, what we call. So, okay, I'm a filmmaker and this is what I've done. So now tell me whether... So it's like that.
But this thing, what you said, it's so true. A lot of times you see successful short filmmakers, when they suddenly get huge budget, it either becomes overwhelming or the planning which needs to shift or change is not really happening the way it should be. What would you give as an advice or direction to these people who are doing this transition?
See, I'm no one to give advice. Yeah, we are all at the same boat. And it's just that I keep repeating myself. It's just the kind of story that you want to say the story. Don't get caught up in the semantics of it. Because we get caught up in the grandeurs, the camera movement. Switzerland mein shoot karenge. Okay, karo. if you have the budget and matlab,
But is it needed?
is it needed for the story? Is it adding value to the story? Please go ahead and shoot it in Alaska if you have to. But the point is, be true to the story that you're trying to say.
Very beautifully, you brought us to the philosophy behind Voice of Artist, which is art above chart. It's a very bold statement, maybe, but we are saying art should be for art's sake. It will drive charts if you really focus on the art.
Embellish it all you want, but just be true to what you're trying to say, what you're trying to communicate. Because anything said from the heart will always connect to someone's heart. If you dilute your heart and if you don't listen to your heart, then same thing will happen with the audience.
I am so enjoying this conversation, Vibhu, because while you are giving a wake up call to people by
No, I'm not doing any of that sort. Yeah. It's just like I'm sharing my life.
with your life experience, you are waking people up at the same
and
time.
I'm very awkward doing all this. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm better off behind the camera because this is something that it's completely new to me, and this is the first time actually I'm giving an interview like this.
Welcome to Voice of Artist. We want to bring the people behind the scenes in front of the screen because you have brought a new world to life, and that deserves celebration.
Voice of Artist also deserves a lot of kudos for that because all of you are doing this really commendable job, at least bringing the people who are behind the scenes in front of the camera and sharing their experiences. It's really commendable, and all the best to you guys. Yeah.
Thank you. So this balance of the reality of life and magic, as we talked about, I'm very curious to know what is camera to you, because camera is a real body, but it is the medium which brings you the magic. And you are not only a filmmaker, you are also a photographer. So talk to us what camera means to you.
So camera is just a medium to actualize your vision. It is just like a catalyst to actualize your vision. I mean, there is no way that anywhere anything else you would get printed what you're thinking, and if there was some other medium it would have been. But the camera is just a medium, and it should remain that. It should not be in your face telling a story. Like I always give example of Iqbal because it's so beautifully shot that it almost seems like you're living in that village with that boy, because the narrative of that film is so beautifully captured with the subtleness of the camera, like. And so it should not overpower the narrative. It's a medium to enhance your narrative, so it should remain like that, is what my perspective is.
Who is Vibhu as a photographer versus a filmmaker?
I think little bit of it's just spills both. I mean, it's like I have to. For me, the eyes, the emotions matter a lot of any frame or anything that I capture or any story that I'm trying to say. It's just like the emotions of it is very important.
Like, how do you compose a shot when it's a still versus when it's a scene?
Still is just, it's very instinctive. I'm a very instinctive photographer. I'm not professionally trained. I'm not. I just very instinctively I shoot, and when I know when the light is right and moment, it's a click in the head that it's okay. You have to click this moment, and I do that.
Do you go back to analyzing those click in the moments in the head?
No. I don't. I just click the moment, and I prefer clicking in black and white mostly.
Why?
Because there's this one famous photographer who had said, when you're clicking people in color, you're clicking their clothes. When you're clicking people in black and white, you're clicking their soul. So I like to capture souls of people. I'm not a witch or anything. I just like to capture people. So
No, we relate to this because the reason why Voice of Artist is black and white is because we imagined it representing the universe, and universe ultimately it's what it's
the yin and yang,
right? It's darkness with the presence of light.
some light in it, yeah.
And your art and the artist brings colors to it.
Yeah.
So which is why we are black and white.
Yeah. But nothing in life is black and white.
Tell us
Everything is different shades of gray.
how.
I mean, you know it. I mean, we all experience it in our daily life. I mean, if only it was black and white, the world would be so easier and simpler to live.
In a very real way, you're talking about diversity of perspectives, of how there is no one
I don't know
version
the
of reality.
technicalities of it, but we all experience it in our daily life.
There is no one truth or one reality.
Yeah. Everybody's reality is different.
If there were no pressure of charts,
Of?
of topping charts, of making charts,
Okay.
what kind of stories would you tell?
Triumph of human spirit. Because that's something everybody can resonate with. I mean, like a underdog winning against all odds. Like I said, Life is Beautiful is one of my favorite films. I mean, after a while, your heart goes out to that guy. Ki, bro, you're gonna die any moment, and you're still playing a game with your son.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's the outlook of life that he had. He lived it till he died, and he was marching on his way to his when he was getting shot. And he played a game. Ki when you, if you see a tank, matlab, if you win, then we'll win a tank. And when everything ended, and when he came out of the dustbin, he saw a tank, and he said, "Dad, we won." But his dad was already dead. So it's just like it's something else. Triumph of human spirit is something which resonates with everyone, no matter
Universal.
what kind of people that you are, what kind of a person that you are.
Is there a pattern? Because this triumph of human spirit is such a universal feeling. Is there a pattern of storytelling which you feel connects people globally? I mean, what is it about?
Like I said, things said from done from the heart always connects with the heart. You see Brazilian films, you see Israeli films, you see Iranian films. You don't understand the language, but you understand the intent, you understand the heart. And it's the heart that matters at the end of the day.
For the people who have not experienced, I'm going back to metaphysics of it right now, because this unexplainable thing is becoming such an important element of art, and people have gone to the level where they have said you can't have art without having the,
Science to it,
yeah,
or metaphysics to it, yeah.
metaphysics to it. Are you talking, or are you referring to a universal artistic energy? Are you talking to channelizing? What are you talking about?
Be open. Keep an open heart. Magic will happens very subtly sometimes. You don't even notice it, you won't even know it. But you just have to have an open heart.
For me,
And be very sure of your craft. When you're very sure of your craft, then and you have an open heart, magic happens.
so you do the hard work and then you flow.
Tangible, intangible.
Beautiful. One of the biggest examples would be J.K. Rowling in this, right? How could Harry Potter, a complicated thing like that, come to her as a visual
Yeah.
in 90 minutes? I mean, that's amazing. And I'm sure each artist would have such instances in their life. It's just that we don't even realize sometimes it's happening to us, and how do we
Yeah.
encourage that?
Yeah. True.
What do you read? What do you consume as content which helps you be who you are?
I mean, of late this reading has like diminished a lot because I read Elif Shafak, 40 Rules of Love. Like I'm a big Rumi fan, so I read a lot of Rumi and read a lot of Gulzar. I'm very anecdotal kind of guy, so I read a lot of anecdotes like Gulzar's book. Yes, I have met them. His first meetings and his experiences with a lot of different people, with Bimal Roy and like Salil Chaudhary and all those people. So I've read this written by Salim Javed, which was a book. Which there's a documentary that's on, but I've already read all of it with what they're saying in that documentary. So I love reading all that, and I love reading, which is in fact, 40 Rules of Love is about Rumi and Shams of Tabrizi and the current situation in America. There's a housewife, so it's very beautifully interconnected, interspersed with the storytelling of that.
Talking about emotion so much in depth, and your profession requires you to create moments where people feel that emotion. Does the way you watch a film or listen to a music change when your director lens is on?
No, it's you watching a movie is completely screwed up because you don't watch it objectively. You just watch it. अच्छा ये रे यार ये क्या कट था यहाँ पे गड़बड़ हो गया थोड़ा सा यहाँ पे ये क्या हुआ suddenly. So it's just like you're just watching it very unobjectively. It's just like you're so involved. If the music, see, that's the thing about storytelling. If the storytelling is really has gotten you into the story, then you don't look this periphery things, these semantics of filmmaking.
So your director lens switches off.
Switches off because you've invested me in the story, but I am not invested in the story. I look at everything else.
Apart from Life is Beautiful and the examples that you quoted, Jaane Bhi Do Yaro, Andaz Apna Apna, which films have helped you switch off your director lens?
Fight Club, Shawshank Redemption, some of earlier Nolan films like Dark Knight, Inception, Prestige. So yeah, I mean Matrix. And I love these really mind numbing action films like John Wick and all these. I just love it because it's just like Die Hard is one of my favorite action franchises. Minus the part 3, I think. But yeah.
Which are the directors that you look up to?
Like Rishikesh Mukherjee and Guru Dutt is like Indian like top two, and obviously Raj Kapoor was like a really big showman in terms of how he told the story and how he encompassed the emotions, of basic human emotion, how he showed. And I love Wes Anderson because
I love Wes Anderson.
the way he frames it so symmetrically. It's like a every frame is like a picture perfect. You can frame every frame of it and put it on a wall.
He somehow he shows reality in a different dimension while being in the same dimension.
Yeah. Completely.
This makes me think a lot of younger or newer filmmakers have this conflict going of how much should they know about the legacy of cinema and the classics versus the things that they are supposed to make right now for the changing demographic or
See,
urban.
it's for consumption, and it's for you to understand and take away what you want to take away. It's not set in stone that you have to watch classics to learn filmmaking. No. See what they did it and see what they did right, and why you connect with the certain emotions in that particular scene, or how they crafted this whole film. Like, sorry, I forgot to name Steven Spielberg in that, because he's one of, I mean, Catch Me If You Can is one of the most seamless films you have seen in your life.
Yeah.
It's almost like a train which just goes in front of you and you don't see any blip in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like you understand the seamlessness of how different scenes are put together. They look like one big object. They don't look like fragmented scenes. So you learn these kind of craft, and it comes with experience. You don't learn it in first year of you coming out of college. You have to spend some time learning and honing the craft. I mean, nobody is born a filmmaker. You become a filmmaker. So you can become a better filmmaker by honing all these things if you do.
Such a beautiful summary of everything that we have talked about, I think, Vibhu. And the last thing that I will ask you before closing this conversation is what would you say to all those filmmakers about the responsibility that they have towards themselves, towards society, toward the younger minds that they are shaping, and in general, their existence?
So it's like you have a very powerful tool and medium in hand. I mean, one has to be responsible towards it. I mean, one has to. There's certain belief and certain things that you believe. You have those beliefs within you. Just follow it through. Don't have it just in words. And I keep repeating myself. Show up every day.
Thank you so much, Vibhu, for coming to Words
Pleasure's
of
all
Artist.
mine, and thank you for being so patient and letting me blabber whatever I did.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.